That's 4 mana. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
That's 4 mana.
And I guess you already have the Rune Blaster if you wanted to go down that road, so never mind.
So there you go. We already got a garbage goblin we don't play. Chris VanMeter, he's on your left. He did not have a great standard open with Jund Monsters, but the previous 2 sure were good, losing in the finals and in the top 4. He's had a lot of trouble in Legacy, but he's off to a nice start here. Maybe had a little chat with Todd Anderson, who last weekend in the Swiss, he went 7-0, 14-0, games played before being dispatched by Joe Bernal in the quarterfinals. You see Chris is playing Sneak and Show. He's playing against Christian Jeffries, who is playing Junk Stoneblade.
I like the idea if you're struggling with your results in Legacy to play a deck where some number of your rounds are going to just be freebies. Not all of them, but Sneak and Show over the course of a 10-round tournament, 9-round tournament, let's say, probably 2 or 3 of your rounds you're going to feel at the end of it. There's no way my opponent had any chance, no matter what they drew.
Yeah.
Just get some freebies.
Deathrite Shaman's going to start the show here for Mr. Jeffries. And we've seen Stoneblade decks like this before. Oftentimes we see blue, though. We don't see Junk.
Correct.
As the weapon of choice. Feels more of like a Maverick-esque deck.
Yeah, we've seen some evolution. I mean, Maverick decks are starting to touch black now for Deathrite Shaman and Cyborg Abrupt Decay, so this is a pretty natural extension, although this is much more firmly in the control deck space. The only creatures here, 4 Deathrite Shaman, 4 Dark Confidant, 4 Stoneforge Mystic, then a smattering of removal spells, a main deck Sylvan Library, some discard spells. Nothing too out of the ordinary here.
Gataxian Probe is going to show us a grip of Stoneforge Mystic, Source of Plowshares, a Wasteland, and a Forest. So all things being equal, relatively fair hand here for Jeffries.
This is one of those free rounds I was alluding to earlier. Nothing in Christian's hand here gives him the tools to fight against what Chris is going to be doing this game.
Chris picked up a copy of Show and Tell off of that Gataxian Probe, but he already had one. The big question is, does he have a basic? And you see the island in the front of his hand, so the answer is yes. The question is, how is he going to use that card? You see a lot of blue cards over there in Chris's hand, a Force of Will among them. There's also a Lotus Petal hanging out. I think he also has an Emberpool in his hand already, too. So I think all he's looking for is another source of mana.
Correct.
And he's just going to play the island, pass the turn back over to Jeffries, who will take a draw. Again, we know Jeffries' hand. He has a Wasteland, which is useless right now. He has a Stoneforge Mystic, which is a little bit slow. And, of course, Source of Plowshares. Well, Emrakul doesn't care about that.
Chris could have theoretically tried to brainstorm that turn in search for 2 Lotus Petals, which would have allowed him to go off. But Chris respects the possibility enough of a discard spell coming off the top of Christian's deck that he'd rather save the brainstorm as insurance against that.
Now, the big question here is we see a Stoneforge Mystic placed in this deck by Jeffries. Chris is deciding if he wants this to resolve or not. One way that Jeffries can work himself out of the situation is a Karakas. Any of those hiding out in his deck?
He has 1 copy.
All right. It's better than no copies.
Yes.
Jeffries is going to resolve Stoneforge Mystic, and it's time to go a-searching.
So you're saying there's a chance.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Batterskull, the card he will search out. This combo we see every weekend here on the Legacy Open. Stoneforge Mystic searching up Batterskull. Sometimes we was always GT. More recently, Sword of Fire and Ice has been very popular.
A lot more blue-red decks, and also Sword of Fire and Ice is the best one to have sort of just general control decks, because neither Jitte nor Batterskull is that meaningful against them in most games, but the sword is more cards and more damage.
Sensei's Divining Top placed on the stacker. I wonder if Chris has any interest in maybe countering that card. Is that something that could actually dig Jeffries to ways to get out of the problem? The answer is no, and here's a Brainstorm. So 1, 2, and 3 cards added to Chris's hand, which you'll notice there, none of them are lands.
But it does appear that Ponder is among them,
yes.
So he gets, again, more looks at it. And it could be as simple next turn as pondering into a 2-mana land and winning the game on the spot,
yep,
or pretty close to it.
Chris puts back 2 Show and Tells, and he'll draw 1 of them. See if he wants to start with the Probe or if he wants to start with the Ponder. Looks like you're going to start with the Ponder. So 3 cards. Show and Tell's the top one. We'll see if he can find a City of Traders or a copy of Ancient Tomb. You saw Sneak Attack and Volcanic Island, the cards he has here.
Now, he can't commit the Volcanic Island to the table this turn in the face of that Wasteland, but he can go for Show and Tell next turn.
Mm-hmm. It's all about patience, but at the same time, Chris doesn't really know what he's playing against. You know, he doesn't know if his opponent has Thoughtseize or Hymn to Torak, or I guess he can defend himself with Force of Will, so it's not the end of the world, but, you know, there are definitely some cards here that can give Chris some trouble.
Yeah. Although all of Christian's, I'm sure Chris doesn't know the exact 60 cards that Christian is playing, but so far, Christian has had a pretty conventional just, I'm a 3-color, good stuffish deck kind of opening so far.
Yeah, that's definitely true. That is definitely true. Nothing, I mean, he's not doing anything out of the ordinary. I guess the most strange card in play for him is the top.
Yeah. And a lot of these decks play one copy of Sensei's Divine Top as just kind of a randomizer anyway.
This looks like VanMeter is going to leave those cards here. You see his hand. He's got a Probe, a Spell Pierce, a Forcible, Emrakul, 2 copies of Show and Tell, Lotus Petal. Powerful stuff over there. And it looks like he says, all right, I'm going to keep with Ponder. Take a draw.
Volcanic Island is not the ideal land here, but I think it is good enough such that it's too greedy just to shuffle and search for more mana.
Yeah, I think that's the case too.
Chris could have theoretically shuffled, gotten a draw that way, drawn again off the Gitaxian Probe, but there's just too high of a risk that there's no land in his top 3 or 4 cards, and he loses the game that way.
Chris going to play his Lotus Petal right now. That could be a little bit dangerous. Card like Abrupt Decay.
Yep.
Jeffries going to take a draw. Again, we know Jeffries has a Batter Skull in his hand. You see the Wasteland in play. Going to spin the top right now. Maybe he's on the search for an Abrupt Decay. You see Dark Confidant. I believe he did find a copy of Abrupt Decay. The question is, would he actually draw that off of the top to be able to take care of the Lotus Petal?
With Chris missing land drops, I think there's a really strong argument to do it. He does give up on Batter Skull this turn, but it looks by not attacking with the Stoneforge Mystic that he's going to let Chris have it, and that might spell Christian's demise here.
And he does just pass the turn back over to VanMeter, who's going to draw Volcanic Island for sure. That's exactly what he does. He's going to put that into play. It's time to bring something to class. As Show and Tell is placed onto the stack. Christian is going to take a look. See, it's pretty fair.
Yeah, let's see who's bigger.
Oh,
Nice.
There's Emrakul.
Okay.
So, you know, that's
Pretty close.
Yeah, they're both creatures.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Batter Skull, super powerful, really versatile.
Life gain.
Life gain, yeah. Vigilance, really good at blocking and attacking. Perhaps, though, outclassed by Emrakul.
I think an argument could be had.
Right. Now, remember, Christian still has some looks with Sensei's Divine Top for Caracas.
2 and 3. What is this going to be? So that'll not work, unfortunately. I was going to say that will work, but I forgot about the Forcible for a moment. So that actually will not work. Liliana the Veil is going to be countered. Chris does take 1, of course, to do that.
Another large cost there. I mean,
Yeah.
Chris now down to 17.
Yep.
Deathrite Shaman applies a lot of pressure in this spot. No, actually, what's going to happen is Christian is going to, yes.
Do that.
Yes.
Doesn't want to play
Rather than
anymore.
actually have to put them all into the graveyard, Christian instead concedes.
Chris VanMeter going to win game number 1 here over Christian Jeffries. Sneak and Show, putting a large creature into play and getting the job done over Junk Stoneblade. As we head over to the sideboards here, we'll take a look at Jeffries and what he has options available. So begin.
He has 2 copies of Cabal Therapy, 1 copy of Enlightened Tutor, which usually means there's some bullets in here, 3 copies of Spirit of the Labyrinth, an Aethersworn Canonist, 2 copies of Golgari Charm, a Rest in Peace, an Oblivion Ring, an Engineer Plague, a Choke, and 2 copies of Pernicious Deed. I like the Oblivion Ring quite a bit in this matchup.
Absolutely.
It's something you can put into play off of Show and Tell, which is a very good answer. Additionally, it can just be reasonable in the event that Chris casts Sneak Attack, but needs to wait till the following turn to actually put something into play. I think the Spirit of the Labyrinths are going to come in as well. A 3-power, 2-mana creature is a better clock than anything that Christian has available to him right now. And there are a fair number of Brainstorms and Ponders and so forth in Chris's deck. Gitaxian Probe as well, we saw. So it provides a reasonable amount of disruption, but even if it was just Blade of the Six Pride, I think there's an argument that Christian should be bringing it in this matchup because he just needs to end the game a little more quickly than he saw in the first game.
And the text is certainly relevant on that card, as you did mention. You take a look at VanMeter's sideboard here. Grafdigger's Cage, 2 Swan Songs, 3 Blood Moon, 3 Pyroclasm, 3 copies of Through the Breach, a Shattering Spree, an Echoing Shroud, and a Boseiju who shelters all. I expect to see Pyroclasm come in here. You take a look at the creatures that Christian did show in the last game. You saw Deathrite Chime, you saw Stoneforge Mystic. Didn't see Dark Confidant, cleans that up. And Spirit of Labyrinth also gets taken care of.
Yeah, so Pyroclasm is an ace here. It's more, I believe, for matchups where people are bringing cards like Meddling Mage to the table. But Pyroclasm also happens to just be a powerful magic card against a variety of decks. And so You're going to see it come in here, even though I don't think this is the matchup Chris necessarily had in mind when he put Pyroclasms in the sideboard.
Absolutely. You do see Blood Moons in the sideboard as well. Those could be okay in this matchup, but I'm not entirely sold that those are going to be necessary. The rest of the cards are kind of whatever. Through the Breach, I think he has enough of these effects to get the job done. I don't think he needs to actually have that card. You can make an argument, I suppose, for Echoing Truth just due to its versatility to be able to solve a problem, but I think it's a pretty straightforward approach here. I think Chris is just going to try to overpower Jeffries.
Chris's conventional game plan here is very strong. Christian did not show a lot of abilities to break it up, so I think Chris is going to try to present pretty close to the same 60, putting in some Pyroclasms, because again, Christian's threat base just did not seem very robust against that card.
What you will notice in the sideboard, especially if you're familiar with Todd Anderson's list from last week at Indianapolis, Chris has a Shattering Spray where Todd has a Vandal Blast.
Okay.
Todd was a very big fan of Vandal Blast, singing its praises all weekend long. I don't know how Todd let this happen. Sneak and Show Master, letting Chris play a Shattering Spree, what kind of friendship is that?
Sometimes you just have to do things to demonstrate your independence.
You don't think the beard's enough?
No, but Todd's also got some facial hair.
He has a stubble, I would say. There's a little more of the stubble.
It's a triangular goatee.
He pulls it off well.
Yeah, it's
actually.
all right.
I got to give it to him. Between that and the Mohawk,
Yeah.
he does his own thing. He's got his own independence, but
I'm saying
come on.
Chris needs to
I
start
understand,
it.
but I think the beard is that independence. That's what I think.
But there's no ceiling on that. You can have as much independence as you
Well,
would like.
we've
That's
learned-
kind of the point.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Either way, they each do have access to one artifact removal spell that is versatile.
Yes.
I know, again, Todd was a very big fan of Vandal Blast, and we actually saw where it could have been quite good last week in his match against Bernal in the quarterfinals. Actually would have been able to overload it in some interesting spots, would have given him some outs to some real problems there. So both of the cards are quite good, and they're also rather unique in what they accomplish.
Is that better than having an Ingot Chewer?
Yes, because there was definitely a game where Todd would have been able to overload Vandal Blast to take care of 2 Pithing Needles.
That's reasonable. I was going to say you can sneak attack that bad boy in.
There you go.
Give him the business.
I suppose that will solve the problem that you have.
Yeah, well, you deal 3. They probably take 2 damage off of fetch lands or what have you, and then 1 Emrakul hit is lethal.
Wow,
So.
you busted it wide open. Look at you. A real innovator.
Can't take it with duress.
Also true.
Also true.
Also true. I hadn't considered all these things.
There's a lot of angles to consider here.
Yeah, old Chewy Chews.
Yeah. Show and tell.
Nope.
Boom.
If you put that in play, you might as well just concede.
Boom.
You are done. I guess you could level someone that puts a Batter Skull to play.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose.
Yep. They put in an ensnaring bridge.
Yep, I don't think so.
You put in big chews.
Yep. It dies to a lightning bolt. Whatever. Just moving on.
Yeah, both still in their deck post board.
Yeah, yeah, that's a real win for you. I mean, so I don't know what's more ridiculous, this or the banding conversation we had earlier this morning.
Dude, I can go deep with this stuff.
Yeah, I know that. I do know that. Or seeing iDog from yesterday.
Yeah. The Evil Eye of Ormsby Gore Glacial Wall standard control deck.
Yes, Glacial Wall. Both players going to lay out their opening hands. Again, we've got many players to watch this weekend. A lot of players off to a fantastic start. Lots of Legacy action in store. Round 3 of 9 here in Providence. Our standard open won by Ross Merriam, who's 2-0 in the Legacy Open so far. Imagine with Elves. Chances are we'll probably see him on camera. He already does quite well with that deck.
Plays it a lot, and Elves is definitely a deck that rewards operational precision. It's
And
a complicated deck. A lot of triggers, a lot of weird interactions.
And won last week.
Yep.
Riley Curran with Combo Elves. Someone who also plays a lot of Combo Elves. Got the job done last week. So we are underway in game number 2. Christian Jeffries will lead things off with a Verdant Catacombs. Down to 19 we go. We'll see what land he wants to search out, and I assume there will be a turn 1 play here. You see VanMeter's hand of double Force of Will and Emrakul, a Show and Tell, a Ponder, and a couple of lands. Pretty good hand.
Got it all rolled up again.
Yeah.
Now, Christian's presenting more disruption in game 2 than we saw in game 1. Essentially, the 2 copies of Cabal Therapy have the potential to do some real damage to Chris's draw here. But VanMeter with another excellent opening hand.
It's a shame how underrated Cabal Therapy is.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best cards at its time is here's a Deathrite Shaman with some fuel. As VanMeter will take a draw. It's a copy of Sneak Attack. His draw gets even better now. We're going to start off with a Flooded Strand. Looks like we'll probably see Basic Island into a Ponder. I wouldn't be surprised if we do at least.
Yeah, one of Christian's most dangerous forms of disruption against the type of draw that VanMeter has is Wasteland. So even though I'm sure he would like to get a Volcanic at some point, he's going to wait as long as possible to get that land.
Yeah. So there is your basic island, and this is your ponder. So VanMeter going to go a little lower again. Remember, he needs another land to be able to go off right now. Shattering Spree among the cards he's looking at here.
And the Brainstorm, and I suspect that Brainstorm alongside the fetch land in his hand is meaning he's going to take these 3 in some way.
Hard to say no to a Brainstorm with a fetch land. Quite the powerful combination of cards. VanMeter giving a long look here. Again, a player who's been having some trouble in Legacy recently.
Yep. A couple runs of some early drops from these events.
Makes it even more impressive that he's been able to hold that lead for the Season 2 leaderboard here on the Open Series. Really doing all of his work with Standard.
He's been putting on a clinic in Standard the last couple months. So.
Yeah. Looks like he is going to keep it. Ponder going to go to the graveyard. Does keep that card and passes the turn back over to Jeffries, who does take a draw. You saw Chris pick up another copy of Force of Will. Here is a Thoughtseize. I have to imagine he's probably going to have to defend himself here.
Well, the one piece of the puzzle here that he cannot afford to lose, given the way his hand is structured, is the Emrakul. But Chris may feel like he has enough redraws at some large creature that he doesn't have to Force of Will this.
Well, that's exactly how he feels. So he's going to show 3 copies of Force of Will, a Show and Tell, a Sneak Attack, an Emrakul, and a Polluted Delta. Now keep in mind, Chris actually kept the cards with the Ponder. So if Emrakul gets selected, he has to shuffle that and the graveyard back in, which will actually give him a shuffle effect. And again, I believe the next card on top of his deck is a Brainstorm.
Yeah.
Which he would want to draw.
Now the issue here, of course, is that the hand that VanMeter shows is extremely exposed to Cabal Therapy.
Yes.
So if Christian has that as a follow-up here, VanMeter may be in a ton of trouble.
So Jeffrey's deciding, what card am I supposed to take here? You can make a pretty nice argument for a Show and Tell. I think it's a pretty good place to start. You can make an argument for Emrakul, so there's nothing actually to put in play with Show and Tell besides Sneak Attack, which is, to be fair, pretty good. I don't think you really want to take any of the Force Wills, though. I think it's the 3 cards in the middle.
Yeah, and I would be surprised if it's Sneak Attack, too, because VanMeter's so far away, mana-wise, from being able to cast that. So I believe this is a decision between Show and Tell and Emrakul, depending on what other action Jeffries has in his hand.
So there is Emrakul, and that's going to go in the graveyard, and it's time to shuffle these cards away.
And I think even if it was close between those 2 cards, the fact that VanMeter kept with his Ponder last turn, meaning that he values the cards on top of his deck, at least his next draw step, was the tiebreaker for Jeffries.
So everything will get shuffled in, and VanMeter will have a mystery card coming for the next turn. The scary thing about Sneak and Show is, you look at that hand, and it might not seem all that scary, but it takes a couple of draw steps.
And in fact, it takes basically just creature and land.
Yep.
That's it.
Death Right. Going to go active. Here's a Spirit of the Labyrinth. You see Chris taking a look at that. We'll do the same here. Take a look at the brand new 3-1 from Born of the Gods. Hasn't seen as much play as I think we expected in Death and Taxes and other decks, but it is still rather powerful.
There's a lot of competition for your 2-drops. There's so many to choose from Legacy, of course, and White has so many high-quality, low-cost creatures. So it's hard to say any creature is going to be an automatic 4 of, but Spirit of the Labyrinth has the potential to do some real damage. And you see that VanMeter went ahead and Force of Will it because Spirit of the Labyrinth is so threatening against many of Chris's potential draws from here.
Yeah, I think you have to. I think you have to Force of Will that there, just because it is so powerful.
Pull the screen back. You see last turn VanMeter drew a large creature, so that's step 1.
The thing that you did see also is Force of Will removing Show and Tell. So it looks like he's on a Sneak Attack plan here. I believe Chris's thought process is probably, I'm kind of scared of what you can put into play off of Show and Tell, so I don't think it's safe to cast that.
I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that necessarily. I understand that VanMeter has his concerns. There's a lot of random cards. Maybe Jeffries has brought in a Humility. Maybe he's brought in, Oblivion Ring. All these cards you're worried about, but he's so far away mana-wise from being able to cast this, and Jeffries has already shown that he has discard in his deck. So I would probably err on the side of just trying to Show and Tell here, even though you incur a lot of risks.
VanMeter going to take a draw. There's the third land. Flooded Strand. His hand right now is Crystal Brand and Sneak Attack. All you can do is pass the turn back. Deathright Shaman going to remove Force of Will. A little drain there. VanMeter going to go down to 15. This is a Wasteland, which is not going to do anything because VanMeter, just with those fetch lands in play, Jeffries going to tap 3 mana now. Copy of Lingering Souls for the Junk Stoneblade player. So 2 Spirit tokens will be coming here shortly.
That is a card I would have assumed was no longer in Jeffries' deck.
A little slow.
It's a little slow for this matchup. Now, that said, he does have a couple other cards that are, he's got 3 copies of Abrupt Decay that aren't ideal here. Umezawa's Jitte, so he has enough low-power cards to cut, but...
VanMeter takes a draw. It's a copy of Sneak Attack. All you can do is pass the turn back over to Jeffries, who's going to remove Force of Will, put VanMeter down to 13. Jeffries will draw a card. He's got 2 power flying attacks here. Could add to that with the flashback of Lingering Souls. Looks like that will be where he starts, is by attacking. Put VanMeter down to 11.
I think Jeffries has drawn Vindicate this turn.
Interesting. Maybe go after that island.
For sure.
Just plays the role of Stone Rain this time.
VanMeter's shown that he can't do anything with 3 lands.
Yep.
So set him back.
Yeah, might as well. And there goes that island.
And that's a huge setback for VanMeter.
And now Deathright's going to remove something from the bin. And now a flashback of the Lingering Souls. So Jeffries is really putting on the pressure as VanMeter will take a draw here. A double land would be huge. A third Sneak Attack will not be. And I'm not sure if VanMeter has a way back into this one now. And so we'll be taking 4 from the next attack, which is going to put him down to 7. And you got Deathright fueling things, putting him down to 5. You see those 2 fetch lands? He's at a virtual 3 at that point.
He can still draw Pyroclasm.
That would be quite good.
But he can't go off next turn.
Absolutely not.
That's something that he cannot do. But Pyroclasm puts him right back in the game.
Well, it's actually going to be an attack here for 5, so VanMeter's going to go down to 6. Leads me to believe that Jeffries has something to play. There's another Wasteland. This is 5 mana. Feels like a Batter Skull, and it is. Triggering Living Weapon. So this will be coming into play in just a moment here, and VanMeter, I believe, drawing virtually dead at this point, picks up a copy of Ancient Tomb, and that's going to do it. So Christian Jeffries is going to win game number 2 here over Chris VanMeter, Junk Stoneblade, and Sneak and Show going to a 3rd game.
And that's kind of the recipe there, the discard spells, and then playing some individual cards that cause Chris to have to use his Force of Wills. His resources, VanMeter's resources was actually taxed in that game. In the first game, he was free to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah. So game number 3 will be underway here shortly between Sneak and Show and Junk Stoneblade. I felt like VanMeter that game had the cards to win. I'm not sure if he used those Force of Wills to the best of his ability. I think I would have been a little more, I guess, defensive around that Thoughtseize that was cast.
I didn't mind the Thoughtseize so much, but in my opinion, what I did not like was the removal of the Show and Tell there.
Yeah.
I think I would have tried to hold on to that one more turn. Chris was trying to go off through Sneak Attack, which is safer in some respects. Again, these Junk Stoneblade lists and decks along these lines normally have threatening stuff to put into play off of a Show and Tell, in the post-board games at least.
Sure.
So I totally respect that. But given how far away he was from being able to win with Sneak Attack, I think he should have gotten away from it.
Now, one thing you'll notice here while VanMeter is playing it, it actually is much different from how Todd plays. You see, and this isn't really a negative critique of Chris, but he's a little bit unsure of himself, thinking through a lot of his decisions, things of that nature. When you watch Todd play, it is straightforward. I'm doing this. I want to get to this, to this, to this, to do that. Todd is very straightforward. He always guns Sneak Attack or Show and Tell. He's very aggressive with the way he plays his deck, and he's very sure of himself.
He's very aggressive. Is very conservative with how he mulligans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, keeps a lot of borderline / sketchy 7-card hands and just jams.
Chris seemed a little bit, again, unsure. I wouldn't be surprised if in that situation where Todd just says, okay, forceful, remove my forceful, protect myself from Thoughtseize, hope I draw a double land, kill you. Sure. Or Show and Tell, and whatever happens, happens. And if I lose on this Show and Tell, all right, we'll just play the next game.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how Todd plays the deck, and I'm not sure if that's the appropriate way to play the deck, but he's certainly had a lot of success playing it that way.
Well, here's the thing, and this might be the concern that Chris has. Jeffries' deck, from what he's shown, could easily have Knight of the Reliquary. It's reasonable that could be in his list.
Absolutely.
And Knight of the Reliquary is incredibly dangerous if you're playing a show and tell game, because he puts in Knight of the Reliquary, Knight of the Reliquary goes and gets Caracas, and you're out of the game. So if Chris has reason to suspect that Jeffries is playing a Knight of the Reliquary strategy, then his line makes total sense. We have the luxury of seeing deck lists and knowing that's not the case, but there's no reason Jeffries doesn't have Knight in his deck. Could easily be there.
Yeah, again, this could just be a Maverick-esque strategy, and given that Thomas Herzog last week in Indianapolis top-8'd with him, top-8'd in Detroit when UNC did coverage, it feels like a month ago, maybe Maverick is back on the map. Now again, we know that this is a much different take, but truthfully, when you watch the games that are being played, this could very easily be a dark Maverick deck that has Thoughtseize in it.
Yeah.
And that's not crazy to think about.
Although the fact that Lingering Souls and Vindicator in the deck, I think that's a lot of threes,
Yeah.
and you usually don't see Lingering Souls alongside Knight of the Reliquary.
Might be more of a giveaway that it's not that dead. I think maybe Chris, there's a chance that he picks up on that now.
Yeah,
that I'm not playing against a dark Maverick deck.
It's all percentages, right? If you told me in the room right now, if you made me guess, I would say at least one person in this room has both Lingering Souls and Knight of the Reliquary in their deck.
Yeah.
There's at least one person. So you can never be 100% sure. But you can only do your best to extrapolate the information that you can based on the evidence and sort of your understanding of Legacy and the way the decks get built.
It's not like that combination of cards is crazy. You know,
Yeah.
It can certainly happen, and I think there are times when it is appropriate to have that combination of cards. So we'll see if Chris picks up any information here, or if Jeffries is able to get another game and move on to 3-0.
And Chris wasn't working with full information at the time. When he was making his decisions about if he was going to force a will and what he was going to pitch, this was before he saw Lingering Souls. So
time to draw some openers, gentlemen. 7 cards for each. VanMeter will be on the play here. Again, number 1 on our Season 2 leaderboard here. Saw a tweet from Gerard Fabiano. He started this tournament 0-2. I believe he may have dropped as well and headed home. He was the only person that could realistically catch him that was in attendance this weekend, and he basically said, well, 0-2 drop. Congratulations to Chris on winning Season 2.
and in fairness, I think that Chris had it locked up yesterday.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
Now it's definitely official.
Jeffries going to send it back. We'll be going down to at least 6 cards. We'll see if he goes any further, as VanMeter is happy with his opening 7. Chris off to a nice start this weekend.
I think Chris might have a turn 1 hand.
I think the same thing.
And if I caught a glimpse of it, and the cards are what they believe they are, there's a pedal and a 2-mana land
and a show and tell.
So
I saw a sneak attack. I don't know if he has a big dum-dum.
Well, we'll find out, I'm sure, momentarily.
Well, there will be some turn 1 theatrics.
And we say momentarily sometimes when we mean a couple minutes or a little while. This will be a matter of moments.
Yeah. Of course, it doesn't mean the game is immediately over.
No, Christian could have Caracas. He could have Oblivion Ring. There's some cards, but it's bad news.
So Christian gonna lay out his 6 cards here, see if he can find something better. Time to take a look. He's happy enough. VanMeter. City of Traders.
When they play City of Traders as their first land, that's a bad sign.
All right, let's go.
Okay.
And I have a Spirit Labyrinth.
Okay.
And that's
Jeffries is playing still.
That's reasonable. That is actually reasonable. Pass the turn back.
Source of Plowshares is really good for Jeffries right now.
Yes. Now, Spirit Labyrinth can't attack, but that's another story altogether.
VanMeter can still just win by attacking a few times.
Yes.
But Jeffries is not immediately dead, which is something of a win.
What do we have here? An Inquisition of Kozilek. Well, it hit. It hit another show and tell. VanMeter with a sneak attack and an Ancient Tomb. Those are the cards that are left. So VanMeter was all in on this plan, and understandably so.
Yes.
I would be too. We'll untap the City of Traders, take a draw.
Although I believe that given what his hand was, VanMeter would have been better served leading off with the Ancient Tomb, because now he's in a position where hard casting the sneak attack is going to be troublesome.
Yeah. I think he might have to play a land here, and so he's going to have to play Ancient Tomb and let that go because he drew a Volcanic out and he wants to work his way towards Sneak Attack in case we get to stage 2 of the game, where Jeffries draws a way out of this situation. Of course, no guarantee that will happen, but we'll see. I think Chris is trying to figure out, okay, if I draw cards and spirits out there, is that a good or a bad thing for me? And I believe the answer is bad.
I think that he can pay 7 to draw a card.
That's really good.
Well, this could come up. I mean,
I'm aware it could come up, and I hope it does.
Yeah.
Actually. I think Chris just figured that out. I can pay 7 to draw 1? That's pretty good.
He's going to have some life to play with.
That's true.
And if something goes wrong here, like he loses his Crystal Brand, he might lose no matter what his life total goes up to. So we giggle, but it's in play.
VanMeter here. Wow, he's going to pay 7 to peel 1, it looks like.
What a deal.
Yeah. All right, it's a polluted Delta. All right. Picks up a cop. Sure. This isn't the worst thing I've ever seen.
He now has Caracas insurance.
Yeah.
He can get Sneak Attack into play with multiple red sources of mana.
And I think you do get Sneak Attack into play now. I think you play the Volcanic, the Petal, and just put it into play. I suppose you could wait and catch your opponent off guard. But I think you're better served by just putting that card in play right now.
I think so too, because I mean you've seen Thoughtseize.
Yeah, I guess the argument to that could be is Thoughtseize even good in this situation? If you get Thoughtseize, you're probably just winning.
Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's Thoughtseize and then a removal spell.
Oh, wow. A couple of Vindicates and not a third land. Unbelievable. Chris VanMeter able to win this game over Christian Jeffries 2-1. Sneak and Show moves on to 3-0.
You know, this is a matchup that I'm sure VanMeter was happy to play against, and game 1 was a cakewalk. Game 2 lost to one of Jeffries' better draws, and then game 3 seemed like it was going to be easy, but there was a sweat. If Jeffries has Swords to Plowshares there, if he has a third land for Vindicate or Liliana the Veil, it's probably Jeffries who wins that match.